Andrew Ballard. Andrew?
Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for letting us travel around the world for free. Classmates and professors here were fantastic, and they did a lot of work and went a long way to introduce me to people who were fantastic. And then traveling around, I would just run into people who were fantastic. So on the whole, the thing was just great. But it wasn't all shits and giggles, although both shits and giggles were involved. The shits would be more in India and South America. And the giggles would be maybe like Tokyo and Amsterdam. My study explores the capacity for urban systems, infrastructures, armatures, nodes, and networks to engender the public and organize the private. I looked at how built systems lend legibility to cities and how they mediate, modulate, and interface program, privacy, and scale. I went at my Branner in two major ways. I had office days, which are fairly short, usually about 2 weeks, and site visit, which was the bulk of my travel. So a little bit about travel experience before I get into the actual subject of study. First of all, I had a really big bag, and I think that Yuki was the champion in terms of the traveling lightly thing. I took a lot of people out on subways. I had a sketchbook, a journal, a laptop, 3 cameras, and as many maps, books, and pamphlets as my backing budget would allow, and then clothes and whatnot. So I lost about 30 pounds in the first month. And then I had 2 things that I concentrated on besides the actual study. One was, I met a lot of interesting people also. One was Corbusier. I had a Corbusier guidebook, and everywhere I went, I would go see Corbusier because he's kind of like Lisa in that sense. And this is in Germany. I did this for Keith. Yeah. Okay. And then also I drew a room plan of everywhere I stayed. They were obviously extremely sketchy, but it's amazing how much information, how many memories can be packed into those little dormitory spaces. So I'll go through the internships that I had. And I call them internships, but really I was there for 2 weeks. I didn't really design too much, but I got to be in the office, work some of the more menial tasks, building models, doing drawings, that sort of thing, and see how they operate. So I started off in India with Krishna Doshi's firm, Vastu Shilpa Consultants, and I was involved in flame canvas design. And from India, I went to Japan, and I worked with Maki and Associates on projects in Singapore. And then, I wanted to go back to this section. I wanted to point out something in the section, which is that there are camels and elephants, and that's amazing. From Japan, I went to New York, and New York I was with Randa and Lash, and it was interesting to shift from these larger offices to working with them because it's just those 2 guys and me. And the project that I helped them with, this is a drawing I did for them. They took over the largest electronic billboard in the nation, and it was the Fresh Direct billboard, and they took out all the advertising and turned it into a color evolving nightlight. And then photographed it, filmed it, and made an exhibition for Columbia University. So this is an information sheet that I did for them. And then I worked in Germany for Danish architecture, and there I worked on a lab complex. It was an extension of Harvard's campus. It was extremely interesting. It was one of the greatest office experiences I had. And then when I was in Bogota, Colombia, I worked with Mazanti Arquitectos, and in each of these firms I worked at, I did something different. There were different stages of projects. With Mazanti, they were in a little bit of a lull, so I helped drum up a monograph of the work. But this is one of my favorite projects to do. So on to the case studies, the fieldwork aspect of it. The basic idea was that I divided my interest into patches and corridors. Patches being centralized spaces and corridors being more linear. Whatever I was interested in, I looked at it on the large scale, zoomed in, and then cut a tissue sample of 1,500 feet by 1,500 feet. The images on the right show what this method. And then the image on the left shows what that 1,500 feet means in terms of a 600-foot dimension, which is a typical urban dimension, or say a 5-minute walk dimension and a 10-minute walk dimension. And the city I'm looking at here is Delhi. And a 5-minute walk and a 10-minute walk means absolutely nothing in the density of those streets, but at least it's a reasonable guide to help me keep things to an architectural scale and use it for comparative analysis. So I had already used this when I was on the field Paoli scholarship earlier. So the next two are from the field Paoli, where I'm mainly looking at corridors, taking 3 sections, patches of each one. So this is Berlin, and then in Barcelona. And I want to stick with the image in the lower right because with the Branner, I started to look more architecturally at each of these, each of the smaller components of these large systems like the Roma. So